Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to You Can Talk and the ABCs of tongue types. I know it has been a minute since you all have seen me. I do apologize. We just got through a week of snow and, shut our power down, and we were up and down, and everything was just chaos with water and all that. But everything is restored here in my particular area. And we're pretty much back to normal. So I'm back to class. Last time I was here, we left off on the letter T. We were doing testing. So this morning we are doing the letter U for the unicorn. And I entitled this the unicorn because it's the unicorn of those people who like to fantasize, who live in sort of an altered state of reality. They are the type of people who want to live in their desires and their dreams rather than in reality. So that is kind of where that term came for me. And like I said, we have all been in that space where we like to dream and fantasize and all that. I mean, who hasn't ever dreamed of winning the lotto and talked about all the things that you would do if you won and, had that type of conversation or, if you had your dream career or fantasy life, what it would be. But unicorns tend to live in that space and want to be, seen as that. They take on that persona, they take on that fantasy and try to make it as much of a reality around them as possible. And so those are the people that I'm talking about, because when we are now, look, I can dream with the best of them. So I'm not passing judgment, but there comes a time where we have to figure out how to live in reality and be practical and get things done. And when you're trying to communicate with someone who's always sort of living in a fantasy world, it can be difficult trying to have a conversation when you feel like they've always got their heads in the clouds and they don't ever want to come down. And it can be very difficult to get things done and have real conversations and make real steps towards doing something that you may need to do or in having conversations that need to be had, because if they're not willing to step into reality, they're not willing to see things as they are, and they feel like things aren't what they really are. And so that can be very difficult. They have moved away sort of from the cultural norms and stepped away from practical matters. They no longer see things from a practical or realist perspective. However, they still live in this very real and practical world. So they have to communicate with us and we have to communicate with them. So that's kind of what we're talking about this morning. Honestly, I feel like, I sort of feel like our imaginations and dreamers and visionaries and all that are things that we need to have. We need to have these traits within ourselves. We need to have the ability to be able to dream and fantasize and imagine, because I think it's something that God created within us. He wants us to be able to, how would we ever learn to build or to turn our imagination into something real if we weren't able to dream and fantasize and imagine things to be different? So I really think that it's something that we need to have. It's not something that I'm against, but we have to be able to allow for realism. We have to learn how to take what we imagine and make it practical and not just live in the fantasy world of it. So it's not necessarily something. Good morning, Donna Ree. How are you? Good to see you. Welcome in. Welcome in. So yeah, I myself definitely have to be careful when I am, like what I allow in my ear gates and in my eye gates, because I tend to, if I get overstimulated or overexcited about something, or even just too fearful of something, I notice it will take over my thoughts. It'll take over my conversation. It'll even take over my sleep if I allow it to. And I'll be dreaming about it and, putting myself in it, and it'll become that real for me. So I have to be careful a lot of times what I even allow into my ear gates and eye gates. And as I've gotten older, I've learned to be able to control, and I've learned how to turn away from things that I feel are, sort of overexciting me or taking my thoughts somewhere that they may not need to go. So I definitely understand, that sort of trait. Is that you, Donna? That's you. Yeah. I mean, I kind of think that it is a trait more often seen in those who are empaths, those who are very empathetic. We take things in from the world, and they kind of go too deep. Like we allow them to go too deep, and they sort of, disturb our spirit and take over who our inner person. And we sort of become just submerged, immersed in it. And so, yeah, I definitely, have to be careful a lot of times at what I allow, because it's fun to live in fantasy land, right? It's fun to imagine yourself living a different life, being a different person, doing different things, having different things, and just staying there, because it's much easier sometimes than dealing with real life. And we see, and now the world has gotten to a place where it has allowed us the ability to do that even easier, right? Things are more acceptable now. You can go online and create personas. You can do all kinds of things. Good morning, Harrison. How are you this morning? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I got to switch it up every couple of weeks. So, got to keep some excitement in my marriage. But yeah, so yeah, it's very easy to live and to want to live in that fantasy world and to create that for yourself. But like I said, for some people, they have taken that, to a whole nother level. Now, we don't know, why people choose to live in that space, why they create these sort of altered senses of reality. They have all kinds of reasons that they do. Not more times than not, they have done it to create a sort of safe space for themselves. Is where they feel comfortable, where they feel like either they can hide or where they feel like they can be themselves. They can either hide from reality, from the things that are going on in the world, or they feel like they can come out and step out into the world, being something other than maybe who they were created to be, in order to feel more comfortable, in order to be able to relate to people. But yeah, we see so many extremes now. I mean, people are changing their bodies and altering their, there's nothing that we haven't seen anymore, right? Let's just be honest. There's nothing that we haven't seen. If you want horns and any kind of crazy ears, elf ears, or if you want a Peter Pan nose or all kinds of stuff, right? Like there's no limits to what we can't be anymore. We can change our sexes. We can change anything about our bodies pretty much. And that's just kind of where people like to sit and where they like to be. And we can run into these people and you would be ready to pass, immediate judgment and all that. So anyway, that's what I want us to talk about this morning. Some different things that we can do to try to communicate with each other when we're having to talk with someone who's living in a fantasy world and being something other than what we think they're supposed to be or what they were created to be. So the first thing we want to do, of course, is to try to develop some understanding. It's so quick and easy. We can be so quick and easy to pass judgment and, get angry about it, even because we feel like, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like this? Who do you think you are? This is not real. This is ridiculous, all that kind of stuff. And we may be very right in a lot of ways about it. But if we're trying to communicate with this person, they're not going to receive that very well. And you're going to immediately create a wall. And if we're trying to knock down barriers so that we can have a conversation that maybe we need to have, then we have to be able to develop some sort of understanding. Like I said, we don't know why people sort of create these fantasy worlds for themselves. Sometimes it's just because I know for me personally, a lot of times I am trying to escape a bit of reality. It is nice to not have to think about bills or work or family stressors or illnesses. But a lot of people are trying to escape from depression and anxiety, and or they're just trying to find where they can be accepted or what they can do to help them feel more accepted. Sometimes people feel like they have to be something else or be someone else in order just to be accepted, because who they are is not enough. So, it could be that they have some personal issues with, just being accepted, their worthiness and all that. So all of that. But here's the thing, if we are willing, what we need to do is to be willing to sort of ask them and sort of look and take a peek into their world. I'm not saying you have to step into their world, but be willing to take a peek into their world and look a little deeper than the surface and try to figure out what's going on, how they got there. And one of the things that I do, rather than passing judgment, and it's actually a great way to just answer those why questions that we often have, right? Is I'll ask them, hey, this is, how did all this come about, right? How did you, come to be this person, or how did this develop for you, or when did this start for you, and all that. When people know that you're interested, they're actually more willing to talk to you, rather than if they feel like you're just passing judgment and being nosy, right? It's two different things. So it really is how you approach them and how you approach the situation. So if you approach them in a manner where they see that you're interested and they feel like there is a sense of I can't even think of the word right now, but like you're really being genuine in what you're asking and what you're saying, then, people will be more willing to talk with you about it, versus just feeling like you're just passing judgment on me, or you're just being nosy, or you just want to know, why I'm doing this because you want to, say ugly things about me or whatever. But if we can ask them and develop some interest, let them know, hey, I'm not passing judgment. I'm really just interested. Like, I'm really curious as to how this all came about. This is something new for me, something I'm unfamiliar with, whatever the situation is. And if they are willing to talk with us, then we can learn, we can develop some insight as to how it came about. What is it that they're dealing with? We can take a peek into their minds and sort of figure out how they work, or what their thoughts are. And why is that important? Because it can help us in how we change our approach to the conversation. So if we know that this person is suffering from some trauma or some fear, or they do have an issue with, who they are, and they're more comfortable trying to be someone else, then that can change how we approach. We can become more empathetic towards them. We can find something relatable. We can find some common ground where we can figure out how to change their approach, figure out how to change our approach to what it is that we need to say to them. We can change our words. We can change our tone. We can change just how we see them, our body language, how we're looking at them. It's one thing to be like, what, versus it's another thing that look interested and concerned, or like you're trying to develop some understanding, right? It's a whole different vibe, and people pick up on our persona and respond and react accordingly. So that's kind of what, so that's the start of it, is to try to develop some understanding. The second thing we want to do is meet them where they are. Okay. We often will talk to someone as if they're on the same wavelength as we are, right? And we don't know where people are. And one of the things that I love about Jesus is that even though, about God, really, even though he was who he was, God was who he was, he knew that we could not be in his presence or even look at him and be able to live, because we wouldn't be able to handle that. So what did he do? But he still wanted to be able to commune with us and to meet with us and to talk with us and to love on us. So he allowed himself to change his form and come down here in the form of Jesus, so that he could be with us, right? He met us where we were. And then even throughout Jesus's life and the whole time that he walked the earth, he didn't sit somewhere and wait for people to come to him. He went out into the world. He went out to where the people were. He went out into the waters where they were fishing. He went out into the villages and into the outer skirts of the places where no one would dare to go. And he met the people where they were. And that is something, that is the mentality that we need to take on when we're trying to speak with someone about, when we're trying to just talk to someone. If we know that they're not going to come here, then we need to be willing to go there and talk with them, or to find some safe space, some place where we can feel comfortable enough to be and have them come and try to communicate with each other. We want to try to work with them and not against them. And when we do that, it allows us to figure out how we can pull them from their fantasy world into a bit of reality, right? We can insert some reality into their fantasy. But if they see that we've taken a step to come towards them, then they'll be more willing to take a step to come towards us, right? Like, have you ever been somewhere or shown up to visit someone and they're like, what are you doing here, right? Like they never expected to see you in that place where they are, and right then, boom, you've got their attention. And so that's the same thing when you are trying to work with someone who's living in a fantasy world. So here's my thought about it. And this is how I want to help you understand this even more. If you have children, or if you have ever even played with a child, or, nieces, nephews, cousins, friends, relatives, whatever, when we see children who are playing in, their fantasy worlds, right? They're playing dolls and with houses, and you can see in their imagination that they're playing school, or that they're playing house, or they're imagining themselves on a pirate ship, or whatever it is, right? We see them playing and this. We don't try to pull them away from that. We insert the life lessons and realities into what it is that they're doing. So for instance, like if my daughter is sitting down playing dolls and playing house, I'll sit down with her and play with her, and I'll incorporate real life situations into her play space, so that she can understand what it is that I'm talking about. Or if you have a kid that plays on sports or on teams, and they are in that world, they are submersed in their win or their loss, and whatever it is they're feeling, we learn how to insert life lessons into how they get along with their teammates, or different issues that they're experiencing with their teammates. So that's the same concept. It's the same concept when you're dealing with someone in a fantasy world. We don't try to pull them out of their world. We try to insert reality into their world. And so that's the concept that you want to be able to have. So basically, that's what you kind of want to, that's kind of where you want to start, is develop some understanding, figure out where they are, and figure out how you can just insert some reality into where they are, into their space. So the third thing you want to do is to try to create a safe space for them to exist. People are never going to be open and responsive to anywhere that they don't feel safe, if they don't feel comfortable. That's why they're in their fantasy world, because they don't feel comfortable outside of it. So if you can create a safe space for them to communicate, like, I'm not passing judgment upon you. I am accepting where you are at this moment. And then that'll help us to control our anger and our tones. And if we're not, and not be able to do threats, because that's another thing we'll do. If you don't quit being this way, if you don't stop acting this way, then I'm not going to do this, or we're not going to have that, or we're never going to speak again. Those kind of threatening conversations. Well, that's not going to make them want to come out, because they're more comfortable where they are than to step out than stepping out into our world. Oh, okay, Donna, no problem. Driving and listening. I fully understand. I do the same thing. I appreciate you all being here and giving me this time in your day. Honestly, I do. You could be listening to all kinds of things, and you chose me this morning, so I don't take that lightly. Thank you so much. So yeah. Try to, create a safe space for that. And instead of getting angry about them wanting to stay and live in their world. One of the things that I have done to learn how to control my anger when it comes to people who I feel are resistant to reality, or doing something what I think they should be doing rather than what they are doing, is I realize and recognize that God has always given us choice, right? One of the things that I love about God, and one of the things that I know that is also probably painful for him, is that he has allowed us the ability to choose the type of life that we want to live. He has never forced himself upon us. He's never forced never forced us to be anything, right? We are not his little marionette puppets. He created us in his image. He loved on us. He revealed himself to us. He invited himself, into our world. But if we choose not to let him in, or if we choose to live a life other than the one that he would like for us to live, then he accepts that. I'm sure it hurts his heart, it hurts his soul, or his spirit, but he doesn't, hold it against us, so to speak. He allows us to live the life that we choose to live. Now, that may mean that we have to suffer some consequences, or deal with some uncomfortable situations, or people passing judgment and all that kind of stuff. Naturally so. We may miss out on some blessings that he would have for us, because we've chosen to do something other than what he would have, liked for us to do. But at the end of the day, he still allows us the ability to choose. And so that's why we should take on that same sort of mentality when it comes to people not doing the things that we think they ought to be doing. When they're choosing to live in their fantasy worlds than living in reality, then, we have to let go and allow them to walk in the space that they feel comfortable in, and walk in the ways that they want to be. Even in Romans 1:24, he tells us, as much as he desires for us, he still tells us that he gave them over to the desires in their hearts. He gave them over to their lusts, their impurities, in any ways that they dishonored their bodies. He gave them over to that. He didn't say, hey, you can't do that. He didn't pull them out of it. He's like, if that's the life you want to live, if that's what you want to do, I'm going to give you over that. I release you to do that, and, but just know that you may have to deal with some things, right? You may have to suffer some things. And so that's the mentality that helped me personally not pass judgment or get angry about people who don't do what I think they should be doing, or do what I want them to do, or, whatever the situation is, because I get so angry, like, how can they sit in that space when we have all this going on and this is reality, but I can't, make the decisions for them. I can't live their lives for them. I can't, I just have to live my life. I have to be responsible for my choices and my decisions and my actions, because I'm the one that has to answer to God for the things that I do. I can't answer for that person, and that person can't answer for me. So, that's one of the things that has truly helped me overcome being angry about people who choose to live in fantasy land rather than accepting reality. It's like, okay, if that's what you want to do, if that's who you want to be, if that's how you want to live your life, more power to you. Blessings to you. I pray for you. And that's just what it is for me, and I go on about my business. I go on about my way. There's no reason for me to be angry about it or pass judgment about it or whatever. It's like, hey, that's what you want. Good morning, Chef. How are you this morning? How are you? How are you feeling this morning? I saw that little bit you had on Instagram. I had no idea you were even in the hospital. So prayers to you. I hope that you are home and doing okay. And I know you had some issues there. So I'm really happy to see you and hope that you're doing good. So stop getting angry, about the things that are, causing you to be frustrated with people who choose to live in their fantasy lands or choose to be unicorns. There is a space for unicorns in the world. There is a space for them, that fantasy. We need that imagination. We need those dreamers. We need those people. We need to have a bit of that within us. But we do also have to live in reality. We do have to you needed this morning. I'm so glad. I needed it too. Y'all know those are the things that I share with y'all. I share with y'all, life lessons for me. That's pretty much what this channel is about. Things that I have experienced that I share with you all. So that's what you're going to get here. Another thing that the last thing I just kind of want to say before we get ready to kind of head out here is, figure out how to have the discussions that you need to have, right? We develop some understanding. We're going to insert some reality into their fantasy rather than trying to pull them out of their fantasy into our reality. And figure out how to have those conversations, say the things that we need to say, express what we need to express. Even sometimes if people act like they're not hearing you, or if they act like they don't understand, they're still taking it in. They may not want to give us the satisfaction of responding the way we want them to respond or the way we think they should respond, but go ahead and say what you need to say and let it be. You're right. Our responsibility is to say the things that we need to say, the things that we've been given to say, to say the things that maybe God has told us that we needed to say, in as loving of a way as possible. However, we can figure out how to, insert it into their imaginations and be at peace about it. Be at peace about it. One of the things that I have found to be the most effective way of communicating with a person who is sort of this mentality is for me to be consistent in who I am. Okay. One of the things that helps to build trust from people who can be from living in two different worlds, who are entirely different from each other, is for me to be consistent in who I am. Because what we struggle with as all humans, and I don't know about you all, and I can just speak for myself, I have a hard time dealing with people who I come to them and one day they're this way and another day they're that way. The next day they're this way and I'm coming to you and I don't know who I'm going to get. Right. And I struggle with those kind of people because I'm like, I want to come up to them and be like, okay, who am I talking to today? Because I need to say that and I need to say something. I need to figure out who I'm talking to. So because we don't know how to approach conversations, we don't know how to, say the things that we need to say when we don't know who we're talking to. And I think that's a lot of times one of the reasons people try to put people in a box. People always say, I don't like being put in a box. I don't like people trying to categorize me. Well, they're not necessarily doing that because they just want you to be how they want you to be. They're trying to figure out how to communicate with you. They're trying to figure out how to talk to you, how to approach you. They're trying to learn the type of person you are so that they can develop some understanding so they can know what things they should say and what things they probably need to avoid saying from you. And that's really what that's about. But yet we take offense to it, right? Like they're trying to brand me. They're trying to, lock me down into this person. And I just want to be me. Well, be you, but be consistent in being you. Be consistent about being you so that when they come to you, they know what they're going to get, and that's, I can appreciate people, even if they live the most outlandish lives. If I come to them and I see, horns on their heads or, crazy tattoos all over their bodies and this and that. As long as I know what I'm going to get when I'm coming to you, then I can treat you accordingly, right? I can talk to you. I can figure out what I need to say to you and all that. But if I'm coming to you and you all over the place, I don't know how to deal with you. I don't know how to approach you. I don't know how to talk to you. I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what not to say to you. And it is definitely, something that will turn me off or whatever. So I try to be consistent in who I am, right? Like, you may not like me, you may love me, but whatever it is, when you come to me, you're going to get the same thing. Who you all see me here on YouTube is who you would see me as out in real life, right? I don't come on here and try to be anything other than who I am. And so, and that's what works for me. Good morning, Shanita Marie. How are you? Good to see you, sis. Good to see you. So I love that. And Shanita, I think you probably even have a bit of unicorn in you, which we all do, because, the way you are able to do your drama and all of the things that you do and acting and all that, which is absolutely phenomenal, right? I love watching you do your thing, but yet you can, watch her on Battle of the Sexes and you're going to get all of the real Shanita, right? She going to give it to you. You're going to know who she is. And she is consistent in that. So though she allows herself to, live in that fantasy land, she also brings it back and knows how to, live fully in reality. And that's kind of what we were talking about this morning for those who have those fantasy lands, but they live in those fantasy lands. And so we have to figure out how to communicate with them. But so anyway, that's kind of what I have for you all this morning. I hope that you all were able to get some insight into, or at least be able to change, some of your thoughts and your approach to how to deal with these people who refuse to come out of their worlds and live in reality. Harrison's laughing. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. So, but yeah, be consistent in who you are, right? Be consistent in who you are. And that will help them to be able to develop a sense of trust around you. And they may be willing to come out, talk to you, and communicate with you on a level you all may be able to find some common ground, and that is that will help develop some conversation, and you all be able to say some things that you need to say. Okay, Shania, Dre is a hater. You just speaking truth, just speaking truth. Yes. All of you all, I love that about you all. You all are who you are. And I think I'm drawn to people who are consistent in who they are. And that's probably a lot of why I watch you all's channels. So I don't care how extreme it is. If you are true to that and true to who you are, then hey, I'm good with it. So I appreciate you all for being who you are and sharing your lives with us here in the world, because we appreciate it. We appreciate all of that. So I'm going to say a quick prayer and then we are going to head out. All right. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for loving on us and accepting us for who we are. Father, thank you for the level of understanding that you've come to have in us. Father, you know us better than we know ourselves. You are more comfortable with us than sometimes we're even comfortable with ourselves, because we were made in your image. In essence, who you are in us is who we are in you. And so thank you for allowing us to be who we are. Thank you for giving us choice. Forgive us, Father, for the times that we've hurt your heart and gotten away from who you would wish for us to be, who you created us to be, because you don't make mistakes, Lord. Who you created us to be is perfect, because we were made in your image. So, Father, anytime we're acting outside of that person that you called us to be, that person that you desire for us to be, we just, ask for your forgiveness. We thank you for your understanding. We thank you for still loving on us, for still accepting us, for still doing for us, for still blessing us in spite of who we are, in spite of our mistakes, in spite of our wrongdoings, our sins, all the things that we do that are against you that we know, and the sins that we commit that we don't even know. You still love on us. You still care for us. And we thank you so much for that. Help us to give that same grace to others, to not get angry, to not be judgmental, and to make assumptions about, what they should and should be doing and how they should and shouldn't be live their lives, but to accept them as who they are, meet them where they are, and to insert who we are and the you in us into their world, and to be consistent in who we are, so that when they see us, essentially they are looking at you. Help us to impact their lives. Help us to be an impact on them rather than them being an impact on us. Father, we love you. We thank you. These things we ask in your son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Yes. Your organic and authentic self. Absolutely. That's who we need to be. This is why I love you, Ruth. Thank you. I love you too, Shanita. I do. All right. You all take care. Have a wonderful day. Tomorrow I have a tip coming out. Don't miss it. I think it's going to be a good one. And then we'll be back here on Friday for the letter V. And I think it's going to be the victim. I think it's going to be that victim mentality. We have to deal with people who are always the victim. All right. And then Saturday. Oh, and tonight, actually, for those of you all who know Minister Terrence Trower, I will be speaking tonight on his channel. He's a praise and worship and ministry channel. And so God has given me a word and he's asked me to come. So I will be there tonight speaking. If you all want to pop in tonight, I think it'll be around 8 o'clock my time. So if you're on the East Coast, maybe around 9:30, and or of course earlier if you're on the West Coast. So I'll be doing that. And then Saturday, I have another exciting couple coming on, and they're going to be talking about overcoming. We're going to be talking about overcoming obstacles and how this couple came to overcome some obstacles. It is Just Blogging Life and her husband. So if you're familiar with them, they will be on Saturday night. So I'm super excited about them coming on. So that's kind of what's coming up for the week. You all have an awesome day. Victim, like the ladies losing on Battle of the Sexes. Yes, Harrison. Yes, Harrison. Yes. Yes, y'all do both take on those. I'm gonna stay out of that. I'm gonna stay out of that one because yes, but I do. Yes, I'll just say yes. All right, Chef. I'll see you all. Harrison and Shanita, Donna Marie. I thank you all so much for being here, and even for those of you who came and popped in and were watching, behind the curtains. I appreciate you all being here as well. And I thank you for those of you who will be catching the replay on this. So I love you all. Please don't fight. Please don't fight. We're talking about love. We're loving on each other this morning. We're loving on each other, right? We're loving on each other. All right. Y'all take care. Have a good one, and be safe and be the light. Be the light of the world. All right.